Hope you all are keeping well and safe and tugging along with your work also. Welcome to ET Auto Big Bite Show. After a long time, we are doing this show, a show that brings industry's top leaders. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Veejay Nakra. He has spent over 35 years in Mahindra and Mahindra and recently been elevated to the role of CEO. Let's understand what are his idea of revamping the Mahindra auto business, or the Mahindra, which once has been top utility vehicle manufacturer for a long time. In recent time, it has slipped to third and fourth position also in some months. So we'll understand what will it take for him to rebound to number one position as a utility vehicle manufacturer, or is that on cards, or they have some other strategy. We'll also understand how the company is looking forward to take their recent joint venture with Ford, and what's up there for their relationship with Sangyoung, as they have said that they are not going to make any fresh investment in the company. Mr. Nakra, pleasure having you here at ET Auto Big Bite Show. Thank you so much for joining. For the understanding of our viewer, can you give us a sense, as you take over as CEO of Mahindra and Mahindra Automotive Division, what are the key things that you think that was missing in the last regime, or you think that was something that you would like to correct, or what are the things that you think you will like to take forward in your regime?
So, Nabil, firstly, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's indeed a pleasure to connect and talk to you digitally. Unfortunately, even after taking over the new role, our first connect is on this
Yes.
digital platform. But nonetheless, thank you so much for having me on your show. You know, any new CEO who takes over in the new role does not necessarily need to look at what went wrong in the past and what are some significant big differences that he or she needs to make. In my view, I've been with this organization, as you mentioned earlier, for actually 25 years. I just completed 25 years last month, and
Sorry,
I
I
have
stand corrected. 25
that's
years. Yeah.
fine, Praveen. That's absolutely fine. So I have been a part of this journey for many years, and the journey has been very enriching in multiple roles. And in the last 9 to 10 years, it's largely been in the area of sales, after sales, marketing, and the entire customer facing role, uh, heading that role before I became the CEO. So a lot of what's been in the organization, or what strategies the organization has been doing in the many years, I've been a part of it. So frankly, I think as an organization, we've always stood for being, and I'm right now talking about the SUV part of the business because that's what you spoke about to begin with. And we've always stood for being a strong SUV player. That's been our focus. We've not kind of in the recent past digressed into multiple other areas of cars, etc. So the focus is going to clearly be in the SUV portfolio, SUV domain. How do we become a formidable player with a very sharp and a focused strategy of where we want to play and how we want to play to create a differentiation for us in the market? I think all of us know that currently, when you look at the SUV segment, the lines that define what an SUV and a passenger car is have blurred in the last many years. So I don't think it's right for us to say, or let me put it this way. I think what's going to be important for us to say is that in this segment, which is clearly blurring between SUVs and cars, we want to be very clear where we want to play, how are we going to be significantly different, and what would Mahindra stand for to stand out as an SUV player. And as we've always said, SUVs are objects of desire. We want to be sure that what we bring to the market for our consumers are objects of desires and what consumers would want to buy. So I think that's going to be one very key area of focus going forward as an organization, which is how are we going to build this brand distinctly? How are we going to create products in our portfolio that are distinct, which stand for who we are as strong SUV players.
Thank you for this elaborate answer, Vijay. Look at the product launches that your company and you have made in the last 3-4 years. We have not seen many successes, be it KUV, be it any Nuvo Sport and other product that came and just went away. 4-5 such launches. What went wrong there? Do you have some analogy on that? Are you going to correct that which you think might have not worked in these products, or do you think that the moment the competition heated up, Maruti came in, Hyundai came in, and other players came in this space, you started losing your ground in the SUV space? What's new are you going to do in terms of sustaining that market share that you used to have?
So, firstly, I just want to put out a point to say that, and this may be a carry on from my last question on the answer that I had given, that I think, as I said, that there was a time when you could say this product is an SUV and this is a car. I think today what's happened is those lines have become blurred, and many of the products that have been launched in the market in the last couple of years, it's very it's very difficult to define what is an SUV today. And hence, one thing I would definitely want to clarify, that we are not going to just unnecessarily chase market share. I think what's very, very important from our point of view is shareholders' value, stakeholders' value, and clearly we want to gun for profitable growth. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what is very, very important. It's not just about chasing a market share or a number. Number one. Having said that, coming to your point about the recent launches and some of the past launches. So yeah, I think there was an era which was, as you spoke about, which was the KUV Nuvo Sport era. Yes, I think that was exactly when the market was kind of hotting up, and we had all kinds of players, domestic and international, wanting a fair share of the SUV segment, which is where the blurring of the lines happened. But I think if you look at our recent past launches, whether you look at the XUV 300, the Alturas, Marazzo, with each launch, we've kind of been able to make a place for ourselves in the SUV segment and category. So we went through a phase with those three launches where we had significant gain in volume market share. But I think, again, the market being so dynamic with some more new products coming in from many of the other players, the price value equation in the segment has been totally redefined. So we have three very exciting launches coming up, and we are very, very clear in terms of our strategy, what we need to do in terms of getting the entire value proposition and the positioning of the brand absolutely right, given that they are absolutely world-class wow products in terms of design, feature, variant, packaging that we'll have to offer to the customer. So we are kind of well entrenched with our strategy to ensure with the next three launches, we are able to significantly gain volume with profitable growth.
Do you have ambition to rebound to number one position? Do you think it is possible to do now? And how do you look at the UV market changing in India? What is going to be the key driver?
I'm going back to the point that I was making. We don't want to, in a vain, futile manner, just chase a number of a position or a market share. As I said, shareholders and stakeholders reward you for obviously the value that you create for them. And we are very, very clear. We are in the game of creating value as a specialized SUV player in our SUV, in the personal space business. And that's exactly what we are going to do. What we are going to chase is that and not just numbers.
Do you see the Indian market after COVID? How do you see the market changing, and where do you see yourself placing in the passenger vehicle segment? Then we'll talk about commercial vehicle and other later. This is the last question probably on passenger vehicle.
All right. So Nabil, I think the auto industry has been in the SUV or in the personal vehicle ownership space. The automobile industry has been seeing significant change in the last 3 to 5 years, compounded in the last 1 year. And all I can say is COVID has been that inflection point for a multiplier jump or a S-curve jump to come into the way people interact with automobile companies and the way they consider and buy automobile products. So I think the whole concept of safe, contactless, digital are now going to be of a very, very high order of magnitude. And I think this is a kind of a consumer behavior that is here for a permanent change to stay. And Nabil, you'll agree with me. There was a time when we used to walk down to a store to buy groceries and items. And today, all of that you wanted at your doorstep, even if it's a 100 rupee or a 200 rupee order that you want to place. So once the customer gets used to things like convenience, safety, in this current contactless era, I think this is going to be a fundamental change that's here to stay. And we're already seeing it with some of the big digital initiatives that we've taken, that a significant percentage of the bookings that are now coming in, not only from urban, but even upcountry, rural India, are all happening on our own online digital platform. And I think this is going to be one very, very significant change.
How
What
ha-
are I'm sorry, I just wanted to continue a little bit on this because this is a very fundamental question. I think this is going to change the way automobile companies work. This is going to change the way the whole ecosystem of the whole channel partners and dealers in terms of the large infrastructures that have been created and what will happen going forward. So I think everybody is back to the drawing board, re-looking at business models on how we digitally engage customers and make this a very convenient, safe, and a contactless experience for them. And this is one fundamental change.
how do you see your product launches program? Has it been delayed? How much you have delayed in that? What is the scenario there? Do we see launches from Mahindra being delayed or?
Absolutely, Nabin. So I think firstly, the unfortunate thing at the moment is because of COVID, the situation is so dynamic that even if I tell you something today, maybe a week down the line it may change. Just to give you an example, and I don't know, I just read this article yesterday or this morning on the digital newspaper, as we all read these days, about UP taking a decision to lock down the state for a week. So you can take a decision today, but what happens a week down the line, nobody really knows in the COVID era as things are opening up. Every day there are new challenges that come up, be it for the be it in terms of a ramp up of our existing capacities or be it in terms of the new products. So there is a delay. Currently, we clearly see that there is an impact of about 2 to 3 months in terms of the impact to our launches. But we are doing everything possible to pull that back by thinking differently of what we can do to speed the process up. But having said that, there clearly will be some delay in the launches of the new products.
So which are the launches that were expected that is going to be delayed?
Uh, Nabil, now you're putting me on the spot. But all I can say is that we've gone on record talking about three new launches, codenamed W501, W601, and Z101. The all new Thar is going to be the first and next launch. And then, of course, we have the all new XUV, the larger XUV, not the 300, the larger, which is the XUV 500. These two are our next immediate launches. And then somewhere further down the line, not this financial year, we have a third launch.
So after delay, when do you expect to launch? So do we expect around the festive season or it will be further delayed?
Nabil, as I said, I'm not, it's a little difficult. I'm not going to answer the exact timing. But yes, they are all around Q3, Q4 of this financial year.
What's your current capacity utilization and are you able to get a proper supply of component? Is that a constraint in terms of component supply when it comes to production, or you are only dealing with the demand constraint, or there is a constraint in the supply side also?
So the good news, firstly, Nabil, is the demand side comeback is much, much quicker than what I had anticipated. We've got very healthy bookings. At the moment, I'm struggling to get the capacity to be ramped up to meet the demand. We've got very strong demand coming in on Bolero, Scorpio, Bolero Pickup, Jito, Supro. This is obviously across the personal and XUV 300 across our portfolio. So the challenge right now is not so much demand. There is demand out there. There are customers. We are very happy to see that there are customers who are walking back into the showroom. So it's good to see that, almost we are back to close to about 40-45% of walk-ins. Of course, the inquiries are back to almost 75-80% of what we were in the pre-COVID era. But right now, the larger challenge is getting capacity ramped up. And it's not so much an issue as far as M&M capacity is concerned, because for us, all our plants are open. We are obviously bringing in manpower in shifts on the basis of the ability for us to pull in material. All our suppliers are open, but as I said, every second day, third day, as plants are opening up, there are surprises that come up in terms of, I think what's important to understand is you cannot make a vehicle with 99 parts. You need all the 100 parts, and you source them from different parts of the country. And a tier one supplier has got a tier two and a tier three supplier. So this is so deep rooted in terms of getting one particular component that if anything fails in the supply chain, you're just not able to make the vehicle, right? So so that's some of the challenge we are facing at the moment. And hence, I guess it's not going to be fair for me to say what is our capacity utilization at the moment. It keeps changing from week to week, but every week we are progressing. And my understanding and a fair guesstimate, I'm not even saying estimate, this is a guesstimate, Nabil. My guesstimate is that maybe another 30 to 45 days is going to be a huge challenge, after which things will start stabilizing.
How do you see the response to Indo-China relation and then suddenly banning of everything which is being imported, and automotive being one of the biggest import from China? How do you see this situation?
Yeah, so look, I don't
Do
think
you
that's,
see it as a knee-jerk reaction, or do you think
look,
um,
that's a geopolitical issue, and I'm going to stay away from commenting on the geopolitical part. But how does it impact M&M? I think not only M&M, Nabil, is going to impact all automobile manufacturers. I think we all know the importance of China as a strategic sourcing base, not only for India but for all global OEs. So yes, there could be some short-term impact to not only us but the Indian automobile industry. But of course, I think we are very, very quick on this, and we are looking at all alternate plans that we need to ensure that we don't miss the demand or the festive season that's going to come up. And I believe this festive season is going to be a very, very good one.
in February, if I remember correctly, during the numbers out when you released the sales numbers, your billing was down by 42% year on year, and then you cited that import from China being disrupted was one of the main reasons for that. That shows your huge dependence, not only yours, another Indian manufacturer like Tata Motors also has, especially for the connected feature on infotainment or electronic component is heavily imported from China.
Not,
Do you think
Nabil,
that is
I need to correct that. I'm sorry, I need to correct that because what you're saying is not factually correct. What we had gone on record saying, so two parts to that, and I'll repeat what I had said to the media in my interview in February, and it was with ET. And what I had mentioned very specifically was the reason for the drop in production or our numbers were twofold. One, it was a conscious call for us for a ramp down for BS4, given that 31st March was going to be the end of era of BS4 and BS6 would kick in on 1st of April. So number one, it was a conscious call for reduction in numbers to destock the entire system and bring it to zero. Number two, I had said that the larger reason of impact on the supply chain was because of a very large supplier in Pune who supplies headlamps and tail lamps for our key products. They had a fire in their plant, as a result of which it impacted the supply of headlamps and tail lamp to us for many of our products, and as a result of which production took a beating. China was a very small component in the overall equation as a result of why the numbers came down. So I just want to correct on record that our dependence is not as high as you're stating when it
no,
comes
but
to
you cited China being one of the reasons
China
because I
is.
have the quote before me. I just saw that.
Yes.
And then there's no shying away from that. Many of the manufacturers are dependent for certain. I just wanted to understand are we in a situation to bring those components or localize those components in such a short span? How long will it take for us to to localize such complex component? It's not an easy component.
For sure.
Electronics are very component. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, so like I said, and like you said, I'm not shying away from it, and I did say that it is going to impact us. I was only clarifying the percentage or the degree of impact. So yes, there are plans that we are working on. It's too early for me to comment on that. It probably will take a little bit of time, depending on the item. It could range from 3 months to 6 months. Uh, but I think all alternate sources and alternate possibilities are currently on.
So do you think, sir, this is also a bit of pent up demand because of the March month we had zero sales. Similarly, April was not so great. So do you think a bit of pent up demand
Hmm.
also added to this kind of euphoria in the market, or euphoria, we'll say, because looking at the current situation where we expected almost 20, 25% or 30% of the pre-COVID time, though it was
Hmm.
already a very small, a base that we were into. So do you think there was a pent up demand contribution also, or do
A
you
little
think it is?
early to comment on that, Nabil, but I'll break my answer into two parts. Yes, no doubt there will be some pent up demand given that A, some people were waiting for BS6 vehicles. B, April was a literally washout. In a 12-month financial year, April was a month of zero for everybody in that sense, right? So, yes, there is some pent up demand that's playing out. But the good news is what I'm seeing is if you look at, let's say, the agri sector, and if you look at not only M&M, but if you look at all tractor manufacturers, if you look at the performance in the month of May and June and what I'm seeing in the month of
It's a
July
double
already,
digit, a strong double digit.
yeah, it's clearly showing a very strong rural demand. And one thing good is M&M's 50%, more than 50% of our automobile sales is also linked to rural demand through products like Bolero, Scorpio, the Bolero pickup. So I'm pretty bullish that while there is some pent-up demand at the moment that's playing out, that's why I believe that this will play out longer, and this year the festive season should see a good comeback. And that's why I'm pretty bullish about the next 3 to 5 months.
Can you give us a sense of the key, customers who are coming back to the market? Who are they in terms of urban, in terms of rural? In urban, do you see those people who were largely using, shared mobility? They have
Mm.
moved because we see the kind of vehicles getting momentum or getting larger share. If you look at the top 10 selling list, you have largely, SUVs and all the vehicle costing more than 10 lakh rupees also. That shows
Mm. Mm.
what kind of trend do you see there?
Yeah. So Nabil, again, two couple of parts, and I'm going to answer this not only for the SUVs but more holistically.
Yeah.
So firstly, if we talk about, let's break this up into urban and rural, and we can break this into personal and commercial. As far as rural is concerned, which is where I said we continue to see strong demand, specifically for products like Bolero, Scorpio. So I don't think the impact of shared mobility or public transport to that extent has an impact on semi-urban and rural India. And that's another reason why we are seeing strong demand. As far as metros and super metros and urban India is concerned, clearly, shared mobility and public transport both have a significant role to play. Now, obviously, there people are going to look at buying a vehicle in the personal space, but I believe that there are two or three segments that will play out. Obviously, there is one segment which is going to be the person who will want to buy a very affordable personal transport vehicle, which could either be new or a second-hand vehicle. But I think also besides that, there is going to be another segment where people will want longer and larger vehicles for their own safety, security, and social distancing inside the vehicle. Number two. Number three, there are many, many people, don't forget, who in the congested cities want to be chauffeur driven. And for such people, they definitely will want MPVs and SUVs with those physical partitions that everyone is offering to be able to create compartmentalized distance between the drivers and the passengers. And number four, I think many manufacturers, including us and our competitors, have already brought out something like a what I call our subscription model, which is a pay as you use or a pay as you go, which allows you to be able to experience your dream SUV at a very, very affordable price of about 25,000 rupees a month, with zero down payment, no legal formality paperwork, no bank loans to be organized. You simply pay 25,000 rupees and you get to own a XUV 300. And as and when your income increases and you want to transfer that vehicle in your name, you have the flexibility of doing it after a minimum period of time. So I think a lot of this is helping and playing out to bring demand back.
I just had one point also. I think people will not like to splurge money. They are getting into cash conservation mode. In such a scenario, don't you think the inclination, because if I am traveling in a shared mobility or a public transport, I would like to own a vehicle, personal vehicle, be it a small vehicle, which costs lesser. So do you think this will encourage the demand for small vehicles also?
No, like I said, of course, absolutely no doubt. But Nabil, the point I was trying to make is, see, at the end of the day, when you conserve cash, even if you buy a small vehicle, there is a down payment that you need to put down, correct? What we are trying to do is de-risk the customer even from a down payment.
Okay.
And number one. Number two, when you buy even a small car, you're going to lock into not only a down payment, you're also going to lock yourself into paying a monthly EMI to buy the vehicle. But when you take a subscription model, you pay till the time you want, and the day you can't, you can return the vehicle back and stop paying your subscription. So I think that's the big advantage that we are able to bring for the consumers, especially in a time like this when customers want to conserve cash.
So you think during COVID time this will gain momentum?
That's
You
right.
are rightly putting it. Let's come back to your Sangyoung story. It was a very exciting deal that Mahindra and Mahindra did. And so far we see the collaboration or the know-how of Sangyoung over the years. We have seen only two products coming up, one XUV 300 on the Sangyoung platform. There was another product that did not do well. Why are you not looking so interested in forging this alliance further or strengthening this? Have you lost, why have you lost the trust on this brand once you were, betting big on it?
Yeah. So, Nabil, I don't think it's about losing trust. I think it's always, like I said, what's the foremost objective? It's always maximizing shareholder value, right? Now, obviously, in the journey of maximizing shareholder value, one always has to take prudent decisions on where to allocate capital. So, I think we are very, very clear that we are going to be very, very prudent, and we are going to be very, very careful in terms of our decision making, in terms of where we allocate the capital. And I think somewhere along, we've taken a decision that our journey, as far as our relationship with Sangyoung is concerned, we are not going to invest any more capital. But that doesn't mean that the relationship is not on the table at the moment with them. Number one. Number two, we have got a huge amount of synergistic work that's happening between the two companies when it comes to sharing platforms and when it comes to sharing engine and design, technology. So there are multiple areas where there is still a lot of synergistic work that's going on. It's only that we've taken a decision, no further allocation of capital into the joint venture. That's all.
Okay. Have you been able to get some investors on board? There's a hunt for it for a long time. Some Korean
I
company was all.
be able to comment on that, Ravi.
Okay, coming back to another, because Mahindra has a history, or you can say you have a beautiful history of aligning, collaborating, and working together. But we have seen some of them has worked, some of them has not worked. You are again going in a collaboration with Ford. So how is that progressing? When do we see a physical product or something coming up? How soon we can see that?
Nabil, again, there I'm going to be very restricted on my response because I think we are still awaiting a final approval and closure with the CCI. So till then, I will not be able to comment beyond a certain point, except what's already in the public domain. So in a sense, I'm just kind of summarizing and repeating that it's obviously a holistic synergy that we are looking at across all areas of business, be it commonization, product development, sourcing, sales, marketing, manufacturing capacities and facilities. Everything is on the table and everything is on the card. Obviously, we will see at the end of the day, unless and until it doesn't make synergistic benefit for both sides, we will decide what stays in the joint venture and what stays in it.
So when do we see that? When do you
I,
expect to
I,
get
I
the
think we're
approval?
a couple of months away. And again, I think, with the whole COVID period, there has been a little bit of delay even on approvals and closure from the CCI. But I think I think it's a couple of months away. It's
We
not too far.
we have seen a good demand coming back in passenger vehicle segment. Two-wheeler segment is doing well. And on all this, we see a lot of strength coming from the Bharat compared to India. This time, the recovery seems to be coming from Bharat via Bharat to India. And if you talk about commercial vehicle, how do you see that recovery curve? Because we haven't heard or seen anything so far, that is as exciting or as positive as in these segments.
No, in fact, Nabil, if you ask me, and we break down commercial vehicle again, as you know, in the auto trade, there is a small commercial vehicle and then there is the medium and heavy commercial.
Hmm.
And they're two
MLC.
very distinct segments with very distinct applications. Uh, one is fleet ownership, large fleets, bulk buying, very high degree of economics. The other is more short distances, smaller load applications, largely what we call market load operator, which is the big segment of small stands with individual owner for self-employment or self-entrepreneurship, owning single vehicles. So the small commercial vehicle segment is actually very, very buoyant at the moment. And if we look, the largest demand in terms of booking, volume, market share, we are clearly seeing significant growth and demand coming in our pickups and the 0.75 ton segment.
Hmm.
And that's largely obviously governed by last mile movement of goods, e-commerce demand, essential items movement, fruits, vegetables, etc., etc. And you know that everybody now wants it at their doorstep, at least in metro cities
Hmm.
like Mumbai, in this large complex where I live. We have a vegetable vendor who's here and he brings vegetables every day. You want everything at your doorstep, etc., etc. So there's clearly a significant demand coming in there, but the medium and
MLC.
heavy commercial vehicle segment is still very, very slow. Unless and until we don't see the wheels of the economy turning, infrastructure projects coming back, I think that's going to take some time. So we've already had an impact last year. Last year, the industry degrew significantly. We all know to the tune of 35-40%. And this year is already first 3 months is a very, very slow start. So, we are going to try and do 12 months of business in 7-8 months. That's going to be very, very difficult. So I think it's going to be a challenging year for the medium and heavy commercial industry.
Hmm. Already it was down and further it has added. Coming back to electric vehicles, Mahindra's pet subject, I think you are one of the few Indian manufacturers who have focused on electric vehicle for a long time. I see now there is a change. Your Mahindra Electric is moving in different direction, and electric cars are being manufactured within Mahindra and Mahindra. Uh, how, Going forward, how do we see the businesses panning out, these two businesses?
See, I think let me answer that from a customer's lens point of view. For customer, Mahindra is Mahindra. They don't see Mahindra Electric. They don't see Mahindra Auto Division. They see Mahindra with electric vehicles. So what we do internally between ME and Auto Division, is clearly a matter of overall value creation and synergy that we need to see again from a shareholder's value point of view. But coming to your main question on electric, it's very, very clearly a very important part of our strategy. This year, the auto show and the Mahindra stand at the auto show at Noida earlier this year in the month of February, we clearly spelled out our electric product portfolio strategy for the next 12 to 16 months, which was largely in the area of shared mobility, goods movement, low-end goods movement, as well as personal SUV ownership of electric vehicles. We still stand by that strategy of ours. Obviously, I would believe that with the COVID impact, clearly I think the whole strategy or the speed at which people would move to electric vehicles, that probably would become a lot slower right now.
So Mahindra Electric will continue to be only a three-wheeler or mobility solution provider, while the passenger vehicles will be made under Mahindra and Mahindra brand.
Like I said, those are things that we keep evaluating from time to time to see as Mahindra as a whole, where the total value creation and benefit lies.
So
But
do
yes,
you
for
do
as
you
you
want to go beyond vehicle manufacturing also when it comes to electric mobility?
Well, like I said, Mahindra Electric is a separate company. We will obviously evaluate all opportunities on the table to create value at Mahindra Electric. So, no, we will keep evaluating that from time to time.
Thank you so much, Vijay, and all the very best for a stellar, time at Mahindra and Mahindra. I hope to see many great things coming up at Mahindra and Mahindra. Thank you so much for joining ET Auto Big Bite.
Thank you so much, Nabil. It was indeed a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you.
And stay safe.
Thank you. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you so much. Keep watching ET Auto for bit by bit update on automotive industry.